What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another 10th edition preview. This time we are doing the Leagues of Votann. It is the final one of Xenos Day, and tomorrow we're getting the points. We'll have the full picture on all the factions, but today we're going to be breaking down the lovely Leagues of Votann, one of the factions that I picked up towards the end of last year when they finally came out.
I know.
And boy, do I love the aesthetic of this army. It is basically the space marine
dwarves.
aesthetic of and you take dwarves, take StarCraft, throw them together, looks awesome.
Yep.
So I really love the aesthetic of this army, and I enjoyed playing it a bit, although its playstyle was very stale in 9th edition because it came out really strong, although frankly not as strong as Eldari and those other armies, yet it got nerfed the hardest out of all of them. That's the privilege of not being Eldari, is you just get nerfed into the ground.
Eldar are always fine. What are you talking about?
Votann were still fine. It was just they had one playstyle, which is my opponent's dead by turn 3, and then I score my points.
Yep.
And if you didn't do that, and your opponent could draw out the game, you struggled. So I'm looking forward to Votann having more distinct, styles and just in general being a better, more engaging army. So we'll see if that's the case with these rules. Let's go ahead and dive in with the army rules, but just before I do that, let's say thanks so much for joining us. If you like this type of 10th edition content we've been putting out, please give us a like. Let us know what you think of these different streams, and especially in this case, the Leagues of Votann in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel and tell your friends about it. Like I said, we'll be doing a breakdown of the points tomorrow, and we're also going to have our first full 10th edition game. We played the Leviathan box set, but tomorrow we'll be playing a live game of Necrons versus Space Marines around 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to create the event after this as soon as we have artwork, but look forward to that. It's going to be a fun one, and we're going to get 2 strong armies right out of the gate.
Super excited
on the table.
for that. And
then tons more games are going to follow. And on top of that, state of the factions, like deep analysis for every single faction, what lists we think are competitive, the tech options we think are good. All that's going to come in the War Room very soon. And if you want to check that out, in the description below, thewarroom.vhx.tv, there's a 3-day free trial. And right now we're releasing combo videos for every single faction. Top 3, what we think are the strongest combos. All right. Let's go ahead and dive right in here to the army-wide rule. This was, of course, previewed, so judgment tokens have changed a bit. There's no more 3 judgment tokens, it's just 1 or 2. And the first one is +1 to hit. The second one is +1 to wound, alongside the +1 to hit. So pretty good mechanic, like +1 to hit, +1 to wound, very strong rules. Now, there are caveats here. First of all is that it's much harder to put judgment tokens on enemy units.
So how do you get them now?
You have, we'll get to their detachment rule in a second, but the main way is your opponent kills one of your units, they get a judgment token.
Okay.
So there's a couple other ways to interact with them, but not too many. It used to be that the end of your opponent's turn, you could pick an objective they controlled and give a unit a judgment token. And on top of that, any units that did the actions, you could also put them on. There is a modern form of actions in 10th, but they decided to take those other 2 away. And now it's just, if they kill a Votann unit, that unit gets a judgment token. And only up to 2 now. Okay, so that's judgment tokens. They are strong. The biggest downside of them is the fact that Games Workshop said, we're going to give you this good, strong rule, but -1 ballistic skill and weapon skill.
Which really hurts.
Don't be doing that. That's a big downside for the Leagues of Votann, so they really need judgment tokens to be efficient, especially once we get into the data sheets where they basically have no rerolls in this army. And that's just not a great place to be, but there are some strong things about this. So let's go ahead and go down below. This is their detachment rule, the Oath Band. And at the start of the battle, you select 1 unit from your opponent's army. It doesn't have to be on the battlefield, it's just in their army. So even if they start in reserves, they can't get around this. The unit starts the battle with 2 judgment tokens.
Wow, okay.
So if they have some big baddie on the table that's going to be tough to deal with, or
Mortarion or something,
10-man brick of Terminators or whatever, boom, starts with 2 judgment tokens. As soon as that unit commits itself, all my army is +1 to hit, +1 to wound against it. Pretty
Seems
strong.
good, yeah.
If at the start of any command phase you kill that enemy unit, if you kill it in the first or second, by the start of your first or second command phases, you get 3 CP. This is their only real CP regen.
Okay.
There's one other one, but it's a little more niche. But this is the main way to get a lot of CP all at once. Then you've got 3rd or 4th battle round is 2 CP.
Okay.
That's probably when you're actually going to kill this
probably.
unit. And then if you kill in the 5th one, 1 CP.
Okay.
Whatever. But starting a unit, especially a key unit with 2 judgment tokens, pretty darn important for this army.
Yeah.
Because it's, like I said, it's a lot harder to generate them.
You can't just kind of hand them out like candy.
And a clever opponent, and this is probably what they didn't really see in design testing, is that a clever opponent is going to whittle you down with good units,
Yep.
finish you off with the trash that they don't care about.
Or just not kill units. Just leave you at one dude.
Or just leave you at one dude and then finish you off with cheap units the next turn that they expect to die. So, yes, normally your good units kill the Votann units and they get judgment tokens and it's all good. But you have to think outside the box. You have to think about how clever players are going to work around a mechanic like this. And the best way to do it is to, like I said, have your good units chip most of a unit away and either don't finish it off or have the other cheap units do it.
We got a $2 super chat from Super Baharoth. Is this index bad?
So I personally, we're going to get through all the rules here. I personally feel that because of the nerfs that they took to weapon skill, ballistic skill, and the total lack of rerolls here, they are one of the bottom 5 armies. It's my personal opinion.
It's better than Death Guard.
They are much better than Death. They're like so much better than Death Guard. It's crazy. They're probably significantly better than AdMech as well.
Yes.
But I think they are one of the lower armies, personally. They have one very strong unit, but outside of that, they're going to struggle.
Yes.
But I'll talk to you about the list and what I think is going to work for Votann. Warrior Pride, 1 CP, fight phase, you pick a Leagues of Votann unit, and one enemy unit that has one or more judgment tokens and is in engagement range of you. That's where they lose me. Is like I said, it's so hard to generate judgment tokens that it shouldn't exist in this qualifier. Correct. It's just not as easy to put them out. So if they have the judgment token, your engaged range, you get +1 AP for each judgment token. So if they have 2, you're +2 AP. Okay? It's a good strat, but they have to have the judgment token, otherwise it's pointless, which I don't like. I think it should be +1 AP, period, and then if they have a judgment token, an additional +1. All right, or +1 for +2 if they have 2 judgment tokens. Ordered Retreat is the money. This is the 1 CP, fallback, shoot, and charge.
Yeah.
Awesome. 1 CP.
Just super good.
You can finally do stuff with land forts if they get tagged. Just fallback, shoot, blow things up. It's awesome. This is one of their best strats and quite strong in my opinion. Then we got Ancestral Sentence. This is quite updated. It used to be 1 CP, 4 rerolls to hit. I wish it was that. But instead, it is you pick a Votann unit from your army. When it shoots, it has sustained hits 1. If the target has 1 or more judgment tokens, sustained hits 2.
That's good.
It is actually a good strat. Once again, it relies to hit sustained hits 2. They have to have a judgment token. But man, when you have that one unit that starts with 2 judgment tokens, you're like, this thing needs to die.
Bang.
Boom. Hearthguard, 10-man Hearthguard brick, sustained hits 2. Let's delete this thing.
Snivar, member for 29 months.
Snivar!
Siegs, what have they done to our StarCraft 2 dwarves?
An Icelandic genius right here, Snivar. He's my very good friend. Okay, we played at WTC. What have they done to our StarCraft 2 dwarves? We'll get to that in the recap. But they have some good rule. Like, this is not Death Guard, this is not AdMech, where they basically have nothing.
Yeah.
They have some things, they need a couple of them.
There are real rules in this faction.
There are actual rules in this faction. Reactive Reprisal, 2 CP. Why is it 2 CP? Almost every other one is 1 CP. So for some reason, they just were like, this faction needs a 2 CP strat. Just make one of them 2 CP. They probably rolled a D6 and were like, okay, Reactive Reprisal. Your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit has one or more judgment tokens has resolved its attacks. Once again, just get rid of that qualifier. It's so much harder to place judgment tokens. You're not getting as many. Get rid of that. Give them an extra benefit if the judgment tokens are on the unit. Yes. That's what it should be. So 1 Leagues of Votann unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks. And your Leagues of Votann unit can shoot as if it were basically shoot back at the unit that shot you. But it's 2 CP. That should be 1 CP, like the other armies that have it. Almost, I'd say like 6 or 7 armies have it. Okay. Newfound Nemesis. 1 CP when your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase just after they have resolved their attacks. 1 Leagues of Votann infantry or mounted unit from your army that was reduced to below half strength. Then your opponent gets 1 judgment token. Or they get up to 2 judgment tokens. So this is one of the few ways to manipulate and put extra judgment tokens on. And it's basically, they go ahead and when they kill your troop units, your 5-man troop units, you have them put a judgment token on there. Or if they finally whittle down your awesome Hearthguard unit, then boom, 2 judgment tokens.
Sounds impossible.
Okay. Void Armor, once again, this is a very strong strat. And you're going to use it often, specifically in Hearthguard. Your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase, just after they have attacked you, -1 AP.
Seems great.
2-up
Super
save
good.
Hearthguard, T6, -1 AP, in cover.
-1 to wound, in cover.
-1 to wounds. Very strong.
Yes.
Very strong combo. This used to be army-wide. It's not anymore. But thankfully, it's still there
Mm-hmm.
because it's very strong. With how prevalent cover is, -1 AP plus cover is very strong in this edition. And especially on 2-up save units. All right, the enhancements. First one you're going to note is the strongest by far, but it doesn't work as written because they copy-pasted this type of language in a bunch of places and forgot that command phase, it shouldn't last until the end of the phase.
Oh, it should be end of the turn, probably.
Exactly. So Appraise and Glare, in your command phase, you can select one objective marker your opponent controls. Okay.
Cool.
Until the end of the phase, while an enemy unit is in range of it, it counts as having one more judgment token than it has, to a max of 2. So if it's 0, it goes to 1. If it's 1, it goes to 2. Very strong, but as you'll note, until the end of the phase, and you do it in your command phase.
So it should be end of turn.
End of turn, end of battle rounds.
Whatever, something.
It should be something else.
It's a useless ability right now. Yeah.
I'm going to assume that they just, whoops, we're going to go back in, edit this, and just fix it so it actually works. But it is legitimately strong.
Yes.
This is the strongest one because it helps you get your army-wide rule, which is very strong.
Yep.
When you actually get it. Okay, a long list. Another way to manipulate judgment tokens. It's each time the bearer's unit destroys an enemy unit. If they have one or more judgment tokens, you select a enemy unit that's visible, and that unit gains 1 judgment token. Now, Leagues of Votann aren't quite as... They're not going to delete an entire army in one turn anymore. And because of that, opponents might be more likely to have more stuff in line of sight, and so it's more likely you switch over judgment tokens. Previously, in 9th edition, your opponent would put out one unit and be like, it's dead, written off, don't care about it.
Yep.
And you would kill it, and you wouldn't be able to swap over judgment tokens because everything else is hidden. But now they're more likely to do that, and it's the entire unit. So you put this on like a call in a Hearthguard unit, it kills stuff, swap over judgment tokens.
Seems good.
Yep, it's pretty good. Grim Demeanor, this is another one that's, I think, is pretty strong. You can reroll Battle Shock tests. Guess what? Votann somehow have leadership worse than some orcs, which is absurd.
How are Tau leadership 7 across the board?
So are Votann.
Yeah, okay.
Literally, their character, everything is leadership 7. How are their characters not leadership 6?
Wait, the characters are 7?
Everything is 7.
Okay, cool.
We haven't gotten there, but it's all 7. It's bad. So at least their characters should be 6. It's crazy. But this is important because you can reroll Battle Shock tests for the bearer's units. And you also ignore all modifiers to their characteristics and or tests.
Okay, that's
except
good.
for saving throws. Obviously, it's very similar to some other rules. Grey Knights have this. A couple other armies do. But why is this important? Well, you ignore all hit and wound modifiers. Very prevalent in this edition. So stealth, all these abilities for -1 to wound, ignore them. On top of that, you're going to ignore things that mess with your battle shock and your leadership. On top of that, anything that reduces AP, you're like, okay, Armor of Contempt.
Who cares?
You're trying to reduce my characteristic. Nope.
Hearthguard bear
You're
match.
-1 damage. Don't care about that. This is incredibly strong on a big brick of Hearthguard. So is a long list. 2 bricks of Hearthguard. Both these upgrades on the characters.
Sounds super
Done.
good.
Okay. Wayfarer's Grace, Leagues of Votann model. First time the bear is destroyed. After placing a judgment token next to the unit that's destroyed, you roll a d6, and on a 2-up, they stand back up outside engagement range. Now, you're going to note, this is probably pretty solid, right?
Yep.
Stand back a character. There's some other abilities in the game that have it. And then you look at the Votann characters, and they are some of the worst characters in the entire game. It's shocking how little that they do. So I don't really care about standing them back up. The only reason I would want to stand one back up is because Hearthguard want a character in their unit to access the -1 to wound. That is the main reason. Outside of that, my characters might as well be dying because they get me a better benefit, which is a judgment token on an enemy unit. Okay. So that's the rules here. Uthar the Destined, this is quite possibly one of the worst data sheets in the game. Unless he is ludicrously cheap, he is horrible. Epic Hero.
Yeah.
Okay, so can't take enhancements, so already a lot less value because the
Yes.
enhancements are worthwhile. His guns and his combat, whatever. Ancestral Fortune. Once per turn, you can change 1 hit roll, 1 damage roll, or 1 wound roll made for this model to a 6.
But you can do devastating wounds.
He
1 damage. It's a 1 mortal wound.
It's 2 damage in combat.
Sure.
But it's just for him. Okay? Each time an attack is allocated to this model, change the damage to 1. Okay. Once per battle round in your command phase, you can select one model from your army with this ability, and guess what? The call has the same exact ability, so him and a call don't get to both place judgment tokens. They get a judgment token.
Oh, we gotta zoom out.
This guy, we gotta zoom out. We gotta zoom out for the badness.
We also have a $5 super chat from Tim G. After you review a unit, could you tell us how many points you would like to pay for that unit? Like 30 points per model for Hearthguard, maybe 8 points for Warriors. I think you just like speculate, like what would you pay?
I would totally pay 30 for a Hearthguard. 100%. Yeah. 8 points per model for a Warrior? Sure.
Yeah.
I'll get to Warriors, but because they can split, they're actually worthwhile because you throw them out to die and get judgment tokens. All right. Hopefully this is fixed and looking good again. But yes, you guys need to see this data sheet in its entirety because it is horrifically bad.
Stop it.
So you're saying like he does mostly stuff for himself and maybe is going to place a judgment token, although that ability was really pretty useless in 9th because like I said, everything in line of sight is expected to die and just getting obliterated, but maybe more people put stuff in line of sight because Votann aren't quite as strong.
Yeah.
All right, and while he's leading a unit, models have a 5-up invuln save. So what can he lead? He can lead Hearthguard, who are 2-up, who can get -1 AP in cover, who do not need a 5-up invuln. Then you've got Hearthkin Warriors, who are there to die. You don't want to make them more defensive. So Rampart Crest,
he's bad.
Terrible.
Yeah, wow.
Terabad. And then he doesn't do anything else for his unit.
Yeah, this is not great.
He is one of the worst characters in the entire game.
Real bad.
Completely pointless.
Yep.
Which, epic hero, no. Cross out the epic, delete that. He is not epic. Because he's epic hero, he literally can't take one of the good abilities a character could take, which is the enhancements. Makes no sense. Call. Okay. So he has the same Grim efficiency. He does give his unit an actual buff, which is lethal hits.
Real benefit.
Pretty darn good. His best place to be is in Hearthguard, but with Vulcanite, you proc the devastating wounds on 6s to wound. If you auto wound, you don't get that. So it's like cool, you get lethal hits. It's really good for the no AP, the blast gun, but at the same time, if you're running the Vulcanite, it's kind of a nerf because you have less dice to roll for the mortal wounds. So it's decent if you run the plasma.
Yeah.
All right.
But he can take a teleport crest, give him deep strike.
He is going to because the Rampart Crest is
useless.
Terrible.
Yeah.
So teleport crest, 100%, be able to deep strike as needed and force out screens.
How much did you pay for this?
I mean, not much. Not much. I'll say that.
I need a champion.
I need a champion. This guy used to be an absolute tank. -1 damage, -1 to wound. He was 4-up invuln. He had extra wounds. He's T6. Which is what Hearthguard are now. 5 wounds, that's fine. His combat is okay. Strength 6, AP2, 2 damage, 6 attacks on the Darkstar Axe, or the Mass Hammer at 3 attacks, Strength 12, AP2, D6 plus 1. Meh. His buff is, when he's leading a unit, reroll charge rolls.
That's terrible.
Fantastic,
That is horrible.
Where did these Leagues of Votann characters go between 9th and 10th to lose any semblance of actually buffing this army?
His Mass Driver Accelerator is not great.
When he charges in, can possibly do some mortals.
Cool.
All right, so you take a 4-up invuln.
Yeah.
You could also, if you're putting him in a Hearthguard unit, you could take the teleport crest.
Take the call, though.
But yeah, just take the call.
35 points.
I doubt it. Okay. Grimnir. Now you're going to say, okay, this guy has a legitimate character buff, right?
Okay.
While he's leading a unit, +1 toughness.
Okay.
I would pay points to get +1 toughness on my Hearthguard.
Yeah.
100% I would. And then on top of that, once per battle, he can make them, if they fail a battle shock test, then they're no longer battle shock.
That's good.
And it's not restricted to your command phase, so it's actually one of the...
That's quite good.
It's one of the good buffs.
His gun is fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's totally fine. Then you look down here, and it says Hearthkin Warriors are the only unit he can join.
Yep.
Trash. Right in the trash bin. What is going on? Let him join the Hearthguard, please. Good sirs, we have barely any data sheets. It's crazy. Okay.
The Brokier Iron. Okay, so this was the best character of 9th edition.
He was by far the best character. So he's no longer a Forge Master. Those upgrades don't exist. So let's see what he does. Okay, he has his bunch of friends, which is all fine. So the cool thing about this is if your opponent tries to precision the unit, his whole thing, his bunch of ecogs and the Ironkin assistant are part of this character unit.
Who would do such a thing?
So when they try and precision you, you're like, okay, I'm gonna kill the 3 ecogs and the Ironkin assistant. The actual dude lives. Cool. So you can actually tank wounds on him. Fine. Multispectral visor. So while he's leading a unit, they get +1 to hit.
Oh, but Siegs is in your army roll +1 to hit?
The army roll is +1 to hit.
Okay, cool.
How this is not +1 ballistic skill or weapon skill?
Who knows?
I don't know why, but I'm +2 to hit.
He can heal a Leagues of Votann vehicle.
He can heal a Leagues of Votann vehicle, which is useful, and it's flat 3 if he has the Ironkin assistant. So that's not bad. Okay? Otherwise, he basically does nothing else. He just kind of stands around.
He's fine.
Yep. Cool. But he can not join Hearthguard either. He can join the Warriors, which nobody is going to be joining Warriors, and Thunderkin. So basically, 1 brick of 6 Thunderkin. You could put him in here.
You give him the enhancement for the exploding sustained hits. Okay, it's not bad.
So you can do some things, but the stratagem for sustained hits.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. Pretty much a downgrade by a significant margin. All right, Hearthkin Warriors. You look at this data sheet. +1 toughness, still 4 up save. They got the 2 OC. They have a whole smattering of weapons. All right? All the weapons, a lot of the special ones, it's all BS4, obviously, and then a couple of special weapons are BS5.
Yeah,
Why?
I don't
Why? I don't care that they're heavy. I'm not staying stationary. The Games Workshop remain stationary doesn't exist, except for tanks that sit in the backfield.
Yep.
Doesn't exist on infantry. Get that out of your heads. So luck has, need keeps, toll earns. The end of your command phase, they basically sticky objectives. That is a great rule because Votann don't want to sit on objectives. All right, they want to sticky them, move on, get into the center. Especially Hearthkin Warriors, because their single best role in the new army is you take a 5-man, which is down here.
You take a 10-man
or a 10-man. You split it with the
Sagittars.
Yep. You split it with the Sagittars, and guess what?
What?
You let them die.
Yeah!
You send them out and you let them die. And when they die, they get judgment tokens on enemy units. That is exactly their only purpose. They're not going to do any damage. They're not going to do any cool tricks. Even though they get these various upgrades, ignore cover, cool, regen CP on a 5-up, feel no pain 6-up, all that, whatever. They are there to literally die. Contest objectives, die in return, get judgment tokens on the enemy. 100% their only purpose. Okay.
Einherjar Hearthguard.
Einherjar Hearthguard.
Saving grace of this faction.
This is the best. This single unit makes them better than Death Guard, better than Admech.
Yes.
This unit is actually legitimately awesome.
Whatever they cost, you take 30.
They're by far the best unit. So T6 now, instead of T5. They lost the -1 damage, but most things in the game did. 2-up save with access to the armor of Contempt, Void Armor.
So with cover, there's 0-up save.
0-up save. They're incredibly tanky because the AP in the game went down for the most part. Most armies have a lot of AP 0, some AP 1, some AP 2, and very little higher than that.
Yes.
But even if they access AP 3, you're like, cool, I'm taking 3-ups. It's still fine. And if a character is leading the unit, -1 to wound if the strength is greater than your toughness.
These guys are amazing.
Anti-tank, it's going to be greater. So, fantastic. This is the single standout data sheet. It's my favorite unit, so I'm glad about that. However, you do have to run a character in the unit to get that buff.
It's probably a call.
So it's probably going to be the call, and then you're going to add in either the Grim Demeanor upgrade or a long list and let these guys go killing. But 2 units of these seems like the bare minimum. The Plasma, still solid, 24-inch range. It is AP3, and with +1 to wound, it can actually punch up against
do real
tanks.
damage, yeah.
And lethal hits as well from a call. And then the Blast Grenade Launcher is just tons of volume of fire. These guys put out insane volume of fire when you need it. Or you could go for the Vulcanite and just try and do Mortals. I think having one of each unit gives you a nice balance. In terms of the combat here, Concussion Gauntlet, it's only 2 attacks, but at the same time, it's easy to get +1 to hit, so you'll hit on 2s, Strength 9, AP2, 2 damage. You could go up to AP3 or AP4 with the Stratagem. Not bad. The Hammer goes on the Sergeant. Once again, it's a couple attacks. Lower AP, but flat 3 damage. And once again, probably going to use the Strat to get extra AP on these guys. And then the Plasma Blade is Strength 6, AP2, and 3 attacks, but hits on 3s. I honestly like the Gauntlet. Let's try and punch up with Strength 9 +1 to wound. That's probably what I'm going to go for, and use the Strat as needed. All right. Hearthguard, fantastic. You can go in a 5-man, you can go in a 10-man. They actually benefit a lot from being in a 10-man because they get Grim Demeanor or a long list, and the character buffs. You're going to build around Hearthguard. Okay. Chthonian Berserks. T5.
Yes.
6-up save. No more Emir.
Ooh, so no invuln?
So, or they just have a 6-up save, so no.
So these guys just die.
Nobody can join this unit either. They have a Feel No Pain 5+, which fine. But the fact is they were T5 before. They probably should have went to T6. I get it, they're a dude with no shirt, so they probably shouldn't. But they need some other defensive mechanic to help. These guys have to get way cheaper, in my mind. Concussion Maul with 3 attacks, hitting on 4, strength 9, AP2, flat 3 is not bad. And the heavy Plasmax, you could go for some volume. But honestly, Votann are going to want to hit as hard as possible.
Yep.
And the Twin Concussion Gauntlet is, once again, AP1. It really benefits from the strat to get extra AP. The Mole Launcher is the indirect fire. And if it hits on a 4-up, -2 to move, advance, and charge rolls.
That's a good roll.
The fact is that it's a BS4 unit.
Oh.
Shooting out of line of sight, you're hitting on 5, D6
yeah.
shots. It is blast, but then you have to roll a 4-up on top of it. It really should be at that profile. If you just hit one unit, you pick it. Its other ability is it fights on death, which it used to do, but it only does so on a 4-up.
Cool. Also, they're a combat unit that moves 5, no advance and charge.
Yikes.
Yeah, this is not where you want to be.
A big yikes. At least it can go in a 5-man. Okay. Hernkin Pioneers. This was one of the standout data sheets in the previous edition, in 9th edition. 12-inch move, it's T6 now, which is nice. And it's a 4-up save still. Once again, no invuln, 3 wounds.
Yeah, the loss of Emir really hurts.
The loss of Emir...
Void Armor.
Yeah, Void Armor was huge on everything. Now it's just not... At least you can get cover on mounted units quite easily now. So that's one saving grace. Still not great. Its real rule is that at the end of your opponent's turn, if it's within 6 of a battlefield edge, it can go back into reserve. So
I don't hate like 1 or 2 of these in your list.
And it has 9-inch scout move. Yeah. So goes up, scouts, touches an objective, and then when you have like an engaged on fronts that might be coming up or behind enemy lines, just put them in reserve, bring them down when needed, or just put them in your backfield and bring them up again. And just let them do mission play is effectively how I think about this, because this unit has no durability.
Yeah. Also,
Void Armor plus cover is fine, but it's just not going to be enough against the guns, frankly. 4-up base save is not where you want to be.
No.
Okay. So, mission play unit here. They can ignore stealth with the Searchlight, where they effectively get +1 to hit against it, and then ignores cover, fine. And if you use a strat on them, 5-up, you don't spend a CP. Okay, same as the troop units. Sagittar is much improved, in my opinion. So, T10, a lot of transports got a glow up. 3-up save, 9 wounds, still fast with 12-inch move. But it has a couple other things. Scout 6, which means you put the troop inside, you move 6 inches pregame, then you move, and it has an awesome rule. Blistering Advance, units can disembark from the transport after it advances, and they count as having made a normal move. So you can go ahead, scout move them, move advance, get onto a distant objective, disembark the troops on, and put 10 OC onto an objective.
I mean, it seems great.
And then sticky it on the next turn when the troops survive.
And their guns seem good too.
Their guns are solid. I'm quite liking the double missile combo, Sagittar missile plus the regular missile launcher. And then it gets the twin bolt cannon, which bolt weapons are sustained hits 1, and twin linked on this one since it's twin. Strength 6, AP1 is kind of meh, lost an AP, but 2 damage with reroll wounds, not bad for 3 shots. It's okay.
Yeah.
But I really like the missile launcher here for some anti-tank, and I expect these guys to be on a little bit of a cheaper side. So if you can run a lot of these with 5-mans, it's a lot of stuff to let your opponent kill so that your Hearthguard kill their army.
Yes.
It's pretty much how I think about this army. Okay, so but like you see here, at the battlefield step formation, you can select 1 Hearthkin Warriors unit from your army and split it into 2. So you don't have to have 2 of these anymore to split a 10-man into 2 5s. You can have 1 of them split a 10-man into a 5 that starts in the transport, and then the 1 can be deployed as a separate.
So we just did a Jakar review. The Venoms have the same rule.
Fantastic rule. I think this is one of the few silver line, really positives that they made this change.
Yes.
I think this is great. Okay, so Sagittar is way up in my mind. 3 great rules, scouts, the advance and disembark.
And the guns are good too.
Guns are solid, but splitting up warriors, so more things for your opponent to kill that are cheap resources to generate judgment tokens. Brokir Thunderkin. This is a unit that wasn't really seen much in 9th edition. It's pretty mediocre because of how slow it is. So Moves 5 inches, T6, a little bit of higher toughness, still at a 3-up save, still 3 wounds, no invuln here. So there's a lot of stuff that wants void armor, and you're going to use it on Hearthguard so that they tank a ton of damage.
Yep.
So what I think, once again, is that MSU is probably the way to go for everything else to support your Hearthguard.
Agreed.
All right, bolt cannons, same profile, sustained hits 1. The grav cannon I like quite a bit. As you can see, there's not a ton of really volume of fire anti-tank in this army, and because of that, this is the one volume of fire anti-tank weapon. It's only D6 blast, but you have 3 of them, 3d6 shots, anti-vehicle 2+. So you make them hit on 3s, and then vehicle, you don't even have to worry. So they can shoot at a vehicle that only has 1 judgment token and be massively efficient.
This is a really great target for the sustained hits, like a big unit of these guys.
Yep. And also a great one for that. Wounding vehicles on 2s, 100% what I want. Even though they have access to +1 to wound, it lets you put the +1 to wound on other stuff. Let the Hearthguard deal with this. Let these guys kill vehicles. Strength 5 only. AP2, 2 damage, but still decent volume of fire, and it can double as like anti-elite infantry type killer as needed as well. SB Conversion Beamer, sustained hits D3, and its rule is on a successful hit of 4+, it scores a critical hit, so on a 4+, it procs the additional D3 shots, but it's 1 shot.
Yeah. So.
Strength 7, AP1, damage 3. Damage 3, 100% like that. AP1 with no ignores cover?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
That's terrible.
It's just going to do literally nothing. Don't care if you roll 3 4s to hit and get 9 additional hits. You're going to do nothing. You're going to do nothing against anything that matters.
So take the grav cannon. It's the only good option.
Yep, pretty much. Their rule is they overwatch on 5s, so it can
rule.
be annoying against a horde because it's a blast weapon.
Yeah.
Where you can just get a whole bunch of shots, 5s and 6s hit, and then if
leave
it's a
knight
vehicle
or something on 2 wounds, you're just like, aha, Overwatch.
you can just finish them off. So you could put the Forge Master in here, or the Iron Master in here for +1 to hit. It's pretty easy to get +1 to hit. Getting the second Judgment Token is a little harder, so you could put him in here and run a 6-man. I honestly think just a lot of 3-man, just 3-3-mans. Let them kill hurt vehicles as much as possible, and let them die in return. That's kind of how I think about this army.
Hekaton Land Fortress.
This used to be the big baddie of the army. It moves 10 inches. It's T12, so not quite as strong as a Land Raider, up at T14. It's only T12.
No, Landers are T12.
Oh, they're T12?
Yeah.
Oh, so Monolith is T14.
Yes, the Monolith and the Stampa.
Okay. So T12, basically the same as Land Raider, then 2-up save. 2-up saves, very valuable, easy to get cover on it now. And
Void armor?
Void armor. Then 16 wounds, not bad. You can heal it with the Iron Master. Leadership 7+, obviously. 5 OC, not too bad there. Then you look at its guns. The guns lost a lot of range, not even counting a mirror. They just lost base range. So Cyclic Ion Cannon is blast, 24-inch range, flat 3 plus D6 shots. Hits on 4s. Why does this thing hit on 4s? It's an elite.
Super vehicle.
Elite super vehicle. Crazy. Strength 9, AP2, 2 damage. It's okay. It's not really an anti-tank killer at strength 9. It's just not really going to cut through anything, and the AP2 is on the weaker side, so is 2 damage. Heavy Magna Rail Cannon. So dev wounds heavy.
Those are good.
Only 30-inch range.
Okay.
Only 1 shot. Hits on 4s, so it can hit on 3s. And strength 18, AP4, flat 6 plus D6.
Does this thing have any rerolls?
Nope.
So it's just 1 shot?
It can give rerolls to something. It's the only way to really get some actual rerolls.
Don't take the rail cannon.
Yes. So 1 shot, if your opponent makes an invuln, you did nothing with your main shot. You could take a 1-shot weapon, which is indirect and okay, but it's only 1 shot, so you'll kill a handful of models, and then that's the end of that. Also, BS4 -1 to hit is not great.
Not where you want to be.
Because you're probably not having judgment tokens on units out of line of sight.
Nope.
The autocannon, once again, it's okay. It did lose a point of AP, so now it's just AP1, but okay. And then the SP Heavy Conversion Beamer, this was my favorite gun. It used to be 30-inch range, went to 34 with a mirror. It's only 24 now, and it has the same conversion rule where successful hits of 4 are critical hits, so they explode and gain you additional D3. So it's 2 shots, strength 10, AP2, 4 damage. 4 damage is nice, AP2 a little iffy, but you have the Panspectral Scanner, so you ignore cover. So lower AP on the land fort isn't the end of the world because it ignores the easy cover that people are getting. Strength 10, though, there's a lot of... T10 is like...
It's not killing tanks these days.
T10 is where, like just above a Rhino type of toughness. So not great there, but it's decent volume if you make the 4s to hit. But outside of that, meh. Twin bolt cannons, fine. I like the bolt cannons because they're longer range over the ion beamer. Even though ion beamer has 1 extra strength and toughness and AP, it's only 1 damage, whereas you can just spam
bolt
out
cannons are 2. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I like the longer range on them personally, but the guns just aren't that
They're
great.
really not.
I lean towards the SP
Hitting
heavy
on
conversion
4s
beamer.
is just not where you want to be.
Yeah, hitting on 3s at best, but no other rerolls outside.
I mean, when you shoot the conversion beamer, then you're gonna roll 2 4s up, and then you're gonna roll 6 extra shots. And
it really feels like the army was supposed to get the old ancestral sentence,
and they just took it
one
away.
CP, 4 rerolls to hit.
Yep.
And they were just like, nope.
Nope.
I would have just kept everything besides the troops at BS3.
Yep.
And then make the troops BS4 so they have a different role and make them cheaper. But keep the heavy weapons at PS4. Come on.
Chad, if you have more than 1 instance of sustained hits, you pick the best sustained hit. So if you have sustained hits 2 and sustained hits 1, you get sustained hits 2. If you have 2 instances of sustained hits 1, you don't get either. You get 1, but not the other.
Yeah, one but not the other. So fire support is its unique rule. In the shooting phase, after the model has shot, you pick 1 enemy unit that was hit by something from the land fort, and whatever disembarked this turn gets to reroll wounds, which is fine. But then you realize that you can't fit 6 Thunderkin in here. You can fit a 3-man, or you can fit 5 Hearthguard, neither of which are really making me
excited.
Like, ooh, reroll wounds on that. Like 5 Hearthguard is fine, but I want to run a 10-man because I want to take all those buffs. So, okay, my troops get to reroll wounds. Nobody cares about that. That is completely useless. So, like, it's a cool roll, but in practice, what is popping out that's gonna? They don't have like a Thunderkin should be the Devastator unit, but they're 3 models each. They count as 3 models in the transport, so you can't run the big squad of them.
Yeah.
And that's the squad I really want to get reroll wounds. So a little unfortunate there. Okay. At the end of the day, yep, you can kind of see it. This is an army that relies on having judgment tokens to do anything. Oh, sorry. The one thing I didn't point out is that Hearthguard over here. Okay. If you see this, they have this magical thing that you might have missed.
Whoa.
3+.
So they hit on 2s.
Them and the characters, yeah. They can hit on 2s, and then +1 to wound is very good on their profiles. They can just damage pretty much anything, regardless of profile that you choose. These guys are the all-stars. I am building my Leagues of Votann list to have everything else be MSU, 3-man Thunderkin units. We've got 5-man troop units all over the place, bunch of Sagittars. All those things die in the first couple turns to get judgment tokens everywhere else, and the Hearthguard table the opponent.
Yep.
And they put all my defensive strats and everything into the Hearthguard to keep them alive. It's pretty much how I think this army has to play. I don't really think there are multiple play styles here. If Hearthguard are insanely expensive, this is going to be a really, really long couple of months until balances happens.
Yep.
This army needs judgment tokens. It's hard to get enough judgment tokens on the field to be able to get that effectively, and then they just have very little rerolls at all. Frankly, the characters are some of the absolute worst in the game.
They're real bad.
They're so horribly bad.
It's terrible.
It's shocking, really. Uthar especially, like, he's the named character, he's the epic hero. He's insultingly bad. So they have decent mission play. They have some good rules with the Sagittar 5-mans and then the Pioneers going back into reserve. They can play tactical missions, I think totally fine. They're going to struggle with having probably enough stuff on the table, and then their anti-tank is very limited and pretty mediocre, in my opinion, compared to the rest of the game.
I agree.
So they're probably going to struggle against high toughness things, but if they can survive with Hearthguard on the table, Hearthguard will punch up in both shooting and combat when judgment tokens are around.
100%.
So you need a lot of cheap chaff to just die for your Thunderkin to activate fully. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah, your list right there with this, bunch of Sagittars, bunch of troops split up, couple 3-man Thunderkin units, and just Hearthguard with characters inside. That's what I'm thinking this list is probably going to end up being, because Hearthguard are the only real efficient damage dealer here, and they're durable, the only durable unit besides the land fort that can survive.
Yes.
So the land fort has the disadvantage of the fact that there's a lot of anti-tank probably in the game, and tanks are so good that people want to run anti-tank, so it's going to die a lot more easily, whereas Hearthguard, if I end up dying to a AP4 anti-tank shot that's tons of damage, okay, I lost the one dude there.
That's fine.
Instead of, my land fort just disappears from it. So we'll have to see what lists look like and what the meta looks like. But right now, that's my impression of the faction. they're definitely better than Death Guard and Admech, for sure. There's
not
more
hard.
going on in this army than those. However, Games Workshop has entirely missed the ball on their characters, and also they have... you can't do... Same thing with Admech. You can't take -1 weapon skill and ballistic skill for almost the entire army, and then take away all their rerolls as well. You cannot do that. So the fact that they did both on 2 different armies... Come on now. And both of those armies, I think, are towards the bottom end of the spectrum.
100%. I completely agree.
Not going to sugarcoat it here. I think Votann are going to need buffs within the first couple months. There's nothing in here that I think is over the top. I think Hearthguard, I've been hyping them up. They are by far the best unit, but they're not... They're going to suffer against mortal wounds, as they did in the previous edition, and they are the 1 damage dealer. So if your opponent has the perfect weapon to go into them, and they die, you're going to struggle, I think. So... It's my personal opinion. At least the Hearthguard models look absolutely stunning.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
And hopefully Games Workshop, is quick on the balance, the state of things. I think Votann, Admech, Death Guard need some immediate buffs. Not to mention the typos that are in these indexes.
Yes.
So hopefully they get some real buffs. Frankly, I would just go back in here, fix them to BS and Weapon Skill 3+, see how that works for a little bit.
Should help.
And then come back. I would also edit the characters so that they do anything of note. Please. You should want to run characters in units. There are a lot of other armies that have amazing buffs. Votann is not one of those. So let's see what they end up doing here. But at least Hearthguard are good. And they kept BS 3+.
Yeah,
so,
saving grace.
That is the saving grace. I think that Hearthguard alone puts them above, and Judgment Tokens being better than the army mechanics of Death Guard and Admech definitely puts them above that. I don't know where they fit in terms of the other armies. We're going to have to play those matchups. But I'm feeling they're on the bottom half of, for sure.
Agreed.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining me. I know it wasn't the most Votann are going to be amazing, but I'm not going to lie to people. I want Games Workshop to come in here and fix the balance of these factions. Clearly, there just wasn't a lot of, I'm going to look at this index next to this one, next to Eldari, and so on, and say, can these two play against each other?
Yeah, there's no Wraith Knights in here.
No, there's nothing like that. So because of that, we'll see what points are tomorrow. But I don't expect Votann to be insanely cheap.
Agreed.
They shouldn't really be. They should be a more elite army overall, but not super elite.
Yes.
Like they were in 9th edition. So let's hope they find a nice balance and then just make their data sheets do stuff. Do stuff well. That's really what this army needs, and hopefully we get it. So let me know if you're excited for Hearthguard like I am in the comments below. What do you think about the Votann rules? What do you hope for in the future? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed our 10th edition content, all the breakdowns of the factions, please give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about us. We will be doing tons more content, like I said. I will be doing a State of the Faction on Votann. I will also be playing tons of games with Votann, so look forward to those in the War Room, which you can find in the description below, thewarroom.vhx.tv, and there's a 3-day free trial. Check it out. So hopefully we'll see you in there, but like I said, we're going to be spamming tons of games once we get those points, and it's going to be an exciting time playing the full 10th edition finally.
Yep.
So thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. Hope you enjoyed this one, even though it was on the more dour side. I just wanted to be honest with everybody. I think that's really important right now because we need to get those buffs in the first couple months of the edition and not wait 6, 8, 10 months. That's too long for an army that is obviously underpowered compared to other ones. So thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you all next time. And tomorrow, points. So definitely check out. I'm going to create the event for that as well as for the game that we're streaming tomorrow, which is Necrons versus Space Marines.
I'm excited to watch that.
Me too. I'm excited to play it. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. So long.